Today we've got a great revenge story on a terrible ex. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, accidentally launched snack chaos. Tonight was one of those evenings. My sister was in the laundry area, busy folding and sorting clothes, and I was just sitting around trying to relax a bit, but my loving nephew decided that was the perfect time to make me his entertainment. I've never liked kids, so bear with me. He was at the mini table with his snacks on a stainless plate with biscuits, I guess, and he kept throwing his stuffed toy at me. I ignored it at first, saying blah blah blah, he's a kid and I should longer my patience, but he did it again, then again, and again. I got ticked. He didn't stop, so eventually I picked it up and threw it back toward him, not even hard, just enough to return it. But it didn't hit him, it hit the stainless plate. The sound was loud, like that sharp metal clang that instantly makes your heart drop. You know what I mean? He went quiet, and before my sister could come over, I panicked a little and ran straight to the kitchen. I turned on the faucet and started rinsing whatever was in the sink, acting like I'd been there the whole time. After a few seconds later, my sister rushed in from the laundry area because obviously she heard the noise. She saw her kid standing there where the snack was scattered on the floor, and me at the sink minding my own business. My nephew looked at me like he was about to cry and call me a traitor. My sister didn't even ask me anything, and she just went straight to my nephew. She scolded him and tapped his hand with a hanger and said something like, "That was enough for tonight," so he got sent to bed early with no cartoons. Meanwhile, I stayed at the sink until things calmed down and I'm trying my best not to laugh. I didn't mean for it to turn out that way, but I finally got some peace. Anybody else out there listening to this feel the same way I do, where if I were in OP's shoes, I'd actually have like a little bit of remorse for that kid getting punished? Probably not enough to like admit it necessarily, unless like the kid called it out and then I would be honest about it. But like watching the kid get scolded, knowing that they can't have SpongeBob or Bluey or whatever they're gonna watch, I'd feel at least a little bad about it, not gonna lie. Medical Potato 5920 asks, "How old is your nephew?" OP replied, "He just turned 10 last week." Our next story is Roommate's Dirty Shower Hair. This revenge needs a little context. I, 23-year-old female, have been living in my current apartment for a little over a year. We're 5 people, but since we have multiple bathrooms, I only share my bathroom with one of my roommates, 24-year-old male. He is just overall not the cleanest person, and the rest of us are pretty annoyed by his lack of hygiene and cleanliness. Like, he never cleans, and if he does clean, it isn't really actually clean. He leaves his dirty dishes all over the apartment and stinks up our whole entryway because all he does is eat frozen pizza, sleep, smoke, and drink alcohol. One of the things he does is leave his hair in the shower after showering. He has long curly hair. I have talked to him about this many times, and every time I see him after he's taken a shower, I remind him to please remove the hair. In my opinion, he's a little too old to have to be reminded of stuff like this, but what ticks me off the most is that his reasoning for not just removing the hair once he's done showering is, "I think having to touch wet hair is disgusting. I just don't like doing it." I mean, fair point, but does he think it's any less disgusting for me to have to do it instead? Recently, I've gotten so fed up, I started doing something that's honestly kinda disgusting. Whenever I have to shower and there's still hair in the shower, I just take a piece of toilet paper, pick the hair up, and put it on his hairbrush. I only do this if his last shower was like 24 hours ago or even longer. If he only recently showered, I take the hair and throw it in the trash. I know this is foul, but I'm just fed up with his bullcrap. Again, anybody else agree with me that I think OP's honestly not going far enough? At first, my mind went to, oh, well, you should take all those hairs and put them on like his shampoo bottle or something, but you still see that stuff, so it would be gross for you. Like, I'm thinking, forget hairbrush, why not toothbrush? Like, OP's more or less relocating those hairs to a place where they more or less belong. How about doing it in a way that actually teaches this guy, hey, maybe I should take care of those hairs so they don't end up there again? I Love Fire Engines commented, good on you, but please no need to be so kind. It's in the shower, so it's clean, right? Well, put it on his pillow for him to deal with. Every single time, no matter how long it's been. I have a family of long-haired folk. When they were younger, I did the hair binning for them. Now they're teens, they're learning it doesn't clear itself, so I summon them every time to clear their hair up. I don't want my kids going out into the world and behaving like your roommate. Clearly he never learned, so let him learn now. Don't be so kind, he will never learn. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy awesome stories of revenge, it would be amazing if you left a like or left a review if you're listening to my podcast. Our next story is a lazy groupmate getting what he deserves. This happened a while ago while I was still in training school. Our lecturer split the class into groups for a presentation assessment. At the time, the school was in a transitional phase. We were moving from a system of 1 school year, 1 year of onboard training, then another school year, to a new system with 2 consecutive school years followed by onboard training in the final year. It was a maritime training school for sailors. I belonged to the batch that had already completed onboard training in our 2nd year and then joined the 2nd year class for what would be my final school year since we shared the same syllabus. Because of this, when the lecturer formed the groups, he made sure each group had at least one person with onboard experience. As a result, I naturally became the group leader. I was also the only one with a laptop, which didn't hurt. Including me, the group had 4 people. We were given 1 week to complete the presentation. It wasn't difficult at all. Everything we needed was either in the school library or easily accessible online. I divided the work based on what I thought each person could handle and told everyone to send me their part once they were done so I could compile the presentation and plan how we would present it. The other 2 members and I finished our parts within a day or 2 because the material was simple. The last guy didn't. I repeatedly reminded him to do his part and told him to ask me for help if he needed it. Every time, he said it was fine. We also held a few group meetings to discuss the presentation, but he never attended, despite being invited, always giving some excuse. He finally sent his part at midnight right before the day we were supposed to present. By then, there was no time to add his work to the presentation or discuss how he would present it. In fact, I'd already completed his section myself because he hadn't been responding to my messages. It only took me an hour or so to complete his part. It wasn't really anything complicated. The next day, just before our presentation, I informed the lecturer of what had happened and showed him the message history where I'd repeatedly reminded the guy about his responsibilities. The lecturer postponed our presentation by 1 day so the rest of us could prepare properly. As for the lazy guy, the lecturer removed him from our team and made him do an entirely new presentation by himself. Later on, that guy tried to push a false narrative that I'd sabotaged him because I hated him. Nobody bought it. Everyone had already seen and heard me reminding him multiple times to do his part. On top of that, I always sent those reminders in our class group chat and directly tagged his @, so the message history was there for everyone to see. With all due respect to what OP did and their plan, the most important part of the story is the fact that the lecturer actually heard OP out and actually held this guy responsible for not doing anything. I mean, how many times have you heard a similar story or experienced one yourself where you had that person in your group didn't do a darn thing and you just get sandbagged because the teacher doesn't care? Team Tunafish commented, "There are reasons the military does such things publicly. It reassures the world they're doing things by the playbook. I may not love the military, having been in, but in many ways it is more honorable and open than many other career fields." Our next story is neighbor blew all his snow onto the road. This happened about 3 hours ago. In my city, there are local laws that prohibit homeowners from clearing their snow onto the roads and sidewalks. The general rule is to put the snow from your driveway on your lawn, not to dump it on the street. The snowplows had already gone by earlier in the day, meaning that was it for municipal snow clearing until it snowed again. On my street, if the snow isn't cleared, it causes flooding issues as it blocks draining to the sewer basis. I'm in Ontario, and we can get quite a bit of snow. I've witnessed this particular person being lazy and blowing snow onto the road before. It ticked me off before, but it was a small amount. I hoped it was a one-time thing. Last night, we received a decent amount of snow, about 10 centimeters. When I came home from Christmas Eve dinner, I saw that the same neighbor had put all his snow onto the road. I parked my vehicle, opened my garage, and fired up my snowblower. I then proceeded to blow all the snow back onto his driveway. I hope he wakes up tomorrow and wonders why all his lazy half-butt snow blowing is now back in his driveway. Don't get me wrong, I really like OP's revenge here, but there's no way, assuming that neighbor was home, that they wouldn't have noticed that, right? I mean, I'm not somebody that lives in a place that really ever has snow, and I'm no snowblower expert, but I don't think they're the most quiet of tools. I just find it hard to believe that OP could go over to their neighbor's house, break out the loud "nyeh" machine, and have it be a confusing surprise as to why the snow's back in their driveway the next day. Vegetable Cup 3870 commented, I had a neighbor hit my car with snow/ice while I was driving down the road. I stopped and confronted them and asked them why they would shoot it onto the road instead of the lawn. The response was, I never really thought about it. Like, what the heck? Do you put your hand in the chute while it's running? People are special. Our next story is, new management didn't want to pay. I said goodbye. Don't ever let someone else dictate your value. Respect the work of others as equal to your own. If you have value, they have value. A long-standing client of mine went through personnel and management changes over the past year. Attitudes shifted. One of the new hires was dismissive and rude to me in a Zoom meeting. Edit for something that was their fault. I noticed that I was not being consulted as often, which is fine. That's how life goes. New management contacted me for help. I quoted them 1 hour of my time. They fought back, questioning how I kept my time and where my time was going. They refused to pay, so I ghosted them. Over the next couple of months, I received 1 to 2 follow-up emails per week and at least 5 calls, all to voicemail. Eventually, they relented and asked for the invoice. Nope, they stalked me on social media. I blocked them. I sent them another invoice for a different fee, a long-established annual recurring cost. I told them non-payment would result in revoking a license. They refused to pay the recurring fee, but pleaded with me again on the other matter. I gave no response, and today I revoked their license. And they're still stuck with their original problem. Moral of the story? If you want someone's work, pay them. They spent hours wasting time and quibbling over nothing when they could have simply paid a small fee to get the job done. I hope you and your colleagues are reading this, Amanda, and freak you. I guess what I'm curious about is, was it normal before the attitudes shifted and the personnel change for OP to send a quote for whatever consultation? Secondly, and I don't want to be like too nosy or anything, but I feel like we kind of have to know what the actual figures were to really get like a taste of how quibbling they really were being over this. For all I know, OP might have introduced a new consultation fee that they've never done before, and we kind of just have to take OP's word that whatever fee they were asking for was just a small fee to get the job done. Coder Joe 1 commented, there's too many people that feel they can justify their own worth by screwing over contractors. This sexy Pop-Tart replied, I'll never forget my first experience doing contractor work just out of high school. It was a crappy little golf cart ferry service for a city fair event, moving people from the entrance to the interior of the park where the fair was located. I worked a whole week, some days for 12 hours, and never received a cent of payment. Only reason I didn't dispute it, besides being a naive kid, was because I made $400 from tips alone. I was owed about as much in actual wages too, but I figured the most cash I'd ever earned at the time was good enough. In retrospect, I should have disputed it. I earned that money. Our next story is, gave a bad review on a rude waiter today. It's very meh. I think it might have been the cold weather or something, but our waiter at the cafe today was not at all accommodating or kind. He was kind of a jerk, to be honest. I took my mom and sister out for coffee and cake, and when ordering, he kept rolling his eyes at stuff we ordered and then telling us that they were out, without us knowing that they were out of anything. He told my sister they were out of brownies, but I clearly saw plenty of brownies on their display when I walked in. So I asked him to check again, and he came back saying, yeah, I forgot about those, in a very snarky tone. Also, when my mom asked for a warm water with lemon, he said the lemon was extra, but in a very condescending tone that kinda sounded like maybe he didn't think my mom could afford to pay for extra lemon. That made me a bit mad because no one talks to my mom like that, right? Anyway, after we were done, I get up to pay the bill at the register. He proceeds to finish the transaction and then points out to an iPad screen with a radar waiter survey, which gave me the chance to qualify his service using a range of emojis that went from a super happy face or great service to a frowny face that read terrible service. I obviously press the bad service and I say it out loud right in front of him. He hands me my receipt with a "jerk, is this for real?" face, and I just turn around and leave. Very petty, but it kind of felt good. I don't really understand what this waiter was expecting. I'll be honest, I don't really dine out all too often, but I've never experienced a waiter even like remotely close to what OP described. I guess I just feel like waiters like that, they're not destined to be in that job for too long. I mean, if anything, if they're routinely like that, they're definitely not going to survive on just their base salary, and they're definitely not going to be getting too many tips if they act like that. Enigma Cross 78 commented, "This reminds me of an experience I had with a former friend. We went to a breakfast place, and our waitress acted very cold to us the whole time. Tables were really close together, so we saw how she interacted with them. She was warm, friendly, and kind to them, but when she came to us, she was cold, giving us one-worded answers, and getting snippy if we had any questions. I paid for breakfast and ended up giving her a penny tip and wrote on the receipt that she was very rude to us." Our next story is, "Here is to sand in your eye." We normally travel about 1,000 miles to a sleepy town for an annual beach holiday. The beach we use is just down the road. The thing about this beach is that it's very windy until about 9 o'clock. After that, there's virtually no wind until about 1 p.m. We arrive at the beach at our usual time, about 8:40, and set up. The beach is usually quite empty at this time. This family arrives about 5 minutes after we finished setting up and sets up right behind us and so close that you would think that we're all the same group. The mom says that we would make a great windshield. There seems to be no understanding of personal space. I let it be and ignore them. Wind drops as usual, and we have a great day at the beach. Almost to the minute, the wind starts to pick up again after lunch. Normally, we would pack up and return to the apartment. On this occasion, I decided to spend a bit longer on the beach. While we were waiting, I take all the towels and anything that could have sand stuck to it and roll them around in the beach sand. We now start to pack up, and I start with the back of our beach setup. Once I could feel the full force of the wind, I move to be directly in front of these people and start to remove the sand from all those sandy items. The sand starts going everywhere towards the family behind us. They start making all sorts of comments about the sand flying in their direction and how could we be so insensitive to their personal space. I just keep on cleaning everything and packing them up. Sand was going everywhere, and I heard the mom complaining about sand in her mouth and eyes. I'm not sure if this is enough, but I sure felt vindicated. Oh, I hate sand. It's coarse and rough and it gets everywhere. Can we all play the guessing game and try to figure out why exactly they felt the need to camp up right behind OP's party? Is it like they're the kind of exhausting people that feel the need to always be close to other people even if they're complete strangers? Was it they thought OP and whoever OP was with are in the best spot, so might as well set up right there? Like, I would just love to know this all too good reason why they felt the need to park right there. Clyde Prefontaine commented, "People can be weird, like using the urinal next to someone when another is open. Love to dance in the rain," replied, "or like when you park a little further to have more space and a jerk comes and decides to park right next to you when there's a million spots." Our next story is, "My ex was abusive, so I called his landlord." I was with my ex for 5 years. He's a raging alcoholic and struggled with borderline personality disorder, and honestly has very little consequence in his life that fosters a sense of independence. When he's in trouble, his mom will send him money, etc. So he treats people across the board pretty poorly. He's been often verbally and on rare occasion physically violent with me and others. I never lived with him and always put out the stipulation of him going to therapy first, but he never went, so I stayed living alone. We fortunately, at the time, live only a few blocks from each other. I finally had enough of treating him with kid gloves and broke it off earlier this year. But obviously, I missed him and cycles are hard to break. When he tried to reconnect this week, I engaged against my gut, as the cycling is truly addictive. Well, he ended up taking money from me and then accusing me of stealing from him. So that was a fun 3 days of lessons learned, or not. Anyway, during this reconnection period, he invited me back to his house, which has never been the cleanest, but this time it was bad. I'm talking spa-sized bathtub he now made into a litter box with a 6-inch layer of cat poop, no running water, missing swatches of walls and ceilings with massive water damage, trash up to your knees, almost cartoon level bad, and what I listed is an understatement rather than an exaggeration. Those clean talk videos of depression cleaning services have rarely shown a place more destitute, and I've never seen something so awful in person. He admitted life paused for him when I left, and the relics of our relationship, even bowls of food we made together, were still exactly where I left them. He didn't even let me fully in the apartment, and I caught a glimpse of roaches and pretty pungent smells coming from the other rooms, and side-eyed a toilet so caked with poop and vomit it wasn't white anymore. Clearly, this is a manifestation of his depression, but it's also an egregious destruction of property and a perfect representation of how he treats the people and things in his life. After inviting me back, he spiraled and it turned into a screaming match, at the end of which he accused me of stealing and then replacing a few $1,000s. Now, I know his landlords. They're young professionals, but this is their only income property. They work and raise their children, so I'm not surprised they haven't done any sort of apartment inspection in 5 years, and I'm sure they would do the landlord duct tape special if they did. They still don't know what he's done to this place. If they did, they would be devastated and have the right to press charges. The other 5 apartments in the building are, appearance-wise, immaculate, recently renovated, and overpriced. He doesn't have much because he doesn't deserve much, but after this last time of him taking from me and then exploding and lying, I feel the need to help the people who have done nothing wrong other than rent in severely underpriced. He pays pennies for what it's worth. Apartment to this man 10 to 12 years ago, never raising rent. My ex admitted time and time again my only crime was loving him, and while I'm not a victim, I am naive and believe in a lot of chances. Their only crime was ethically renting an apartment to this black hole of a man, so I kind of feel kindred right now. I decided to file a complaint with the housing authority, the HDLC, and with the landlords. I can't unslap my face or get rid of all the things he said to me over the years, but I can prevent further decrepitude and get some solace out of it, and get him out of my neighborhood. Yes, I'm a scorned ex-girlfriend for a very good reason, and I'll own that. I won't go into what this man did, but he never recovered from taking a life in his past and has taken that out on me and everyone else for half a decade. But as a homeowner myself, rent at cost to family, I would be furious if my tenants were 1/10 as destructive as this man. No, he won't be homeless because he'll just call his mother and get a deposit for a new place. He'll be fine. But he sure as freak won't be in my backyard anymore. I fully support everything OP's doing here. Honestly, if it wasn't such a burden to try to have proof, I would say OP should clearly report him for laying hands on her. Really, the only thing I would say is if there's even a remote chance he could assume it's OP that did this, or it somehow gets back to him that OP was the one that reported him, honestly, considering his history, I would be concerned for OP's safety. I mean, the way the guy's living, it doesn't really sound like he has much to lose. International Oil 540 commented, "You have every right to be scorned, and so what if you're doing it to be vindictive? If he wasn't living like a hoarder and a slob, there would be nothing to report. I don't even understand why you're trying to spin it like you're doing it to help the landlords or because you're a homeowner. His house didn't just get like this since y'all split. He's always not been clean or taking care of it. It's just that now you're fed up and this is a way to hold him accountable for something." Our next story is, Inconsiderate neighbors met my loudspeaker. So I'm living in a very quiet community. It's rare to meet someone outside, but when you do, these people won't bother you at all. As a reserved person myself, I just nod to greet them at times, and I have no problem with them at all. I rarely see my neighbor in the left unit, and the right one is vacant. One quiet night, I went to bed at 1 a.m. when sudden loud rumbling woke me up. As suspected, someone is moving into the right unit. They moved in the wee hours around 2 a.m. Not that I care, but they started slamming walls, banging their metal screen door and their main door. A neighbor down the hall came out to check what's happening. The wife kept apologizing, but her words felt hollow, as if we were the ones unreasonable for the disturbance. I let this pass. The next morning, I found the stairs and walkway littered with broken clothes clips leading to their door. Like following a trail of ants, you could definitely tell who the culprit was. I let this pass again. A few days later, I saw the caretaker who handles the gardening, cleaning, and trash collection removing fruit and veggie peelings from non-biodegradable trash bin. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but given their inconsiderate attitude, I had my suspicions. Then today, the hammering started on the very wall between us. At first, it was just light taps. I assumed they were hanging a picture frame. To my surprise, the hammering intensifies to an unbearable level, so loud that you'd wish you'd had earplugs handy. I wouldn't have minded if they'd just given me a heads up beforehand. Out of respect for this quiet community, I normally keep my music below 80 decibels. But this neighbor clearly doesn't share the same courtesy. I cranked my loudspeaker to 70% to drown out their noise. Then it hit me, why am I being considerate to someone who shows none in return? Heck no, this is the perfect excuse to test my loudspeaker to max volume. I turned it up to 90%, let the music blast, and enjoyed it. I couldn't see their faces, but I made my point clear. They have to deal with my music until much later. You know, I would have loved nothing more if OP clarified that they have trash music taste and listen to nothing but like Seabat by Hudson Mohawk. If you know, you know. If you don't know, then just know that you would really not rather hear that blasting through your wall all day and all night. Come With Me 492 commented, had to do something similar to my neighbors. They have a loudspeaker out back and started playing kids' tunes in the wee hours of the morning. Well, they got a rather loud dose of Rammstein and Tool. Haven't heard the loudspeaker any at all lately. Our next story is, closed a popular pizza place for 2 days. When I was 15, I worked at a very popular pizza place in Canada, rhymes with nut. It was run and managed by a couple of college kids that thought they were big stuff running a pizza joint. Congratulations. I was in between work and didn't want to work at a fast food place, but my first choice at the local arena fell through because I had to be 16 to work with certain chemicals and stuff they had for the pool. Months away, but it was a no-go. So I bit the bullet and applied. I got the job and was hired for working in the kitchen. Within a month, they wanted me to learn how to make dough. I wasn't for it because that meant that I had to come in every weekend at 6 a.m. to have dough ready for when they opened at noon. I said fine, I'd learn, but I don't want to do it every weekend. I was a kid. I enjoyed my weekend time and was much happier working weeknights. They assured me I would only have to work one weekend dough shift a month. I said, okay, great. They got my partner in crime, we'll call Scott, to agree to the same thing. We both learned and nailed it. Within 2 weeks of learning, we were back-to-back weekend shifts. I worked every Saturday, Scott every Sunday, going forward. I went to my boss, told her, and she laughed, said, too bad. They all thought it was hilarious, the group of them, all servers in their 20s. We were the joke of the pizza joint. They knew we needed jobs and wouldn't quit. Then I went home one Saturday, and my parents said the arena had called and wanted me to come in for another interview. I went, and I was told that I would be offered the job in 2 weeks, the day after my birthday. I asked if they needed anyone else, and they said yes, and I told them about my friend Scott and how he worked. He said to hand in his resume and he'd get it set up. Time for revenge. The next Saturday, I went into work and sat around and did absolutely nothing. I drank chocolate milk and hung out in the booths of the restaurant, twirling my thumbs. They showed up for open, and I was standing there, apron and name tag in hand. I quit, I said. My boss laughed and said, whatever, we were going to fire you anyways. Then commented that if it were her, she wouldn't have showed up at all and screwed her over not making any dough. Idiot. I laughed and said, nah. I hung out all morning and made no dough, so you still need to pay me for my shift. Later, the look on her face was gold. She ended up having to close the store for the day because they had no dough made. Then, to top it off, Scott repeated my quitting method the following day. We worked together at the arena for the rest of high school and told that story fondly. Popular and Populous commented, "A buddy of mine and I did a similar thing in high school. We worked every crap weekend shift they had. Him cooking, me serving and cleaning up, etc. When we told them that our prom was coming up and we both had dates, and being our senior year, we weren't going to miss it, notified them about 2 months in advance. Schedule comes out and we're on it for prom night. Both of us brought it up and were told, sorry, you're gonna have to find someone to cover for you. I'm sure you're all aware of what happens when the people who cover your shifts all the time need a shift covered. Absolutely nothing. When we couldn't find anyone willing to cover, we decided that they probably needed us a lot more than we needed them. Didn't tell anybody and just didn't show up. Phones on silent. Had a great night. Found new restaurants a week later. Do not freak over high school employees that you genuinely need. Or better yet, don't freak over any employees. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely awesome revenge story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.